Welcome to our Retire Early interview series. We get so many questions from our readers at drescapes.com about what it takes to retire early in a tropical paradise that we decided to interview a couple of authorities on the topic. Today we are starting a multi-part interview series with Acacia and Billy Cotterly of the RetireEarlyLifestyle.com blog. The Cotterleys are often quoted and interviewed by the likes of the Wall Street Journal, U.S. News, World Report, PBS, Smart Money, The Motley Fool, and a long list of others. The Cotterleys struggled through their decision to retire 25 years ago at the ripe young age of 38, and since then have never looked back. Come join us on what we know will be an interesting interview with Acacia and Billy as they share their experience with us and how they've come to understand it's a lifestyle, not a vacation. What led you to this path of early retirement and retiring overseas? Can you give us a little bit of a history to start out with?
Well, actually, what motivated us was that we were working too many hours in our jobs. We were working about 80 hours a week and not seeing each other very much, and that's not how we wanted to live our lives. And our relationship started to drift a bit, and Billy came up with this idea that we could travel the world and retire and spend more time together, and I just thought he was nuts. I just didn't. We were 38, 36 at the time, and that just wasn't in my plan at all. But he convinced me. We did everything on the back of an envelope. We tracked our expenses and this sort of thing, and we found out that we could live off of the amount of money that we were spending. And so we decided to give it a whirl. It took us 2 years to put it all together, and then we never really actually decided to move overseas. We just decided to leave our jobs and start adventures, and one thing led to another.
I'm fascinated when people take such bold steps, and obviously the fear was there as well for you as it is anybody else. So you started thinking about actually taking this seriously in your mid-30s, correct?
Yes, in our mid-30s, I started looking at our assets, and I was a branch manager at a brokerage firm in California, Dean Witter, as a matter of fact, and it got to be how much is enough, and most of my clients were older, and they would come in with these terrific tales of travels that they've just gone on, or they just came in off the links, or just got done playing tennis, and I'd meet them in my office. And my mind was just racing as to how these guys seemed like they were having a lot of fun, and I'm stuck behind this desk. And so we wanted to do this when we were young, and we were still able to climb the mountain and jump in the back of pickups and roam the world as best we could. And that was a bit of the catapult.
If you had to really trigger it, though, as a trigger moment to finally motivate you to take this step, is there any one particular thing, or was it just the fact you were noticing that you're kind of not any more fulfilled with what you're doing and you're seeing other people? Was there a trigger moment?
Well, I think like Casey said, we started drifting apart. I was working in California. The stock market generally opens at 6 in the morning and is closed at 1 o'clock. And so I'd have all day off, and I could go to the beach and whatever. And Acacia was working the evenings. We owned a restaurant at the time, and it just was, we weren't seeing each other. And so
we knew we had to make a change.
Right.
That was the pivotal moment, was that we could continue to drift apart and get a divorce eventually, or do something together and take a chance. And like I said, Billy convinced me. He was able to convince me with the numbers. So it took 2 years to work that out, to make sure that we could actually live on that amount of money. But it was because we wanted to save our marriage, really. We wanted to stay together.
Absolutely. No, there couldn't be a better reason as far as I'm concerned. Any reason why you chose overseas over domestic retirement? Was it strictly an economical decision?
It just happened organically. Our brief history is that we left California and went to the tropical paradise island of Nevis in the West Indies in the Caribbean. And we spent 6 months on that island, and then we caught a sailboat, sailed south down to Venezuela, and eventually made our way back to California. And at that point, we didn't know what we were doing, and so we ended up buying a fifth wheel trailer in a 1-ton pickup truck, and we started traveling the western U.S., and that was working out great for us. And then we got an invitation to go to Mexico, and which we'd been before, but only to many years ago. And so we jumped on this opportunity, and our plan was to stay two months, and we ended up staying 4 years in Chapala, Mexico.
It was just a good fit. It was never a plan. When we were staying there, we decided that we wanted to do more foreign travel before we got too mentally stiff, and physically stiff. We wanted to be able to see more of the world. So that was sort of the decision to do it. I've never really considered that I lived overseas. You're absolutely right. That's what we do. We live overseas. But, I guess it's because it's just been one destination after another, and some fit better than others. But, we do enjoy the lifestyle overseas very much.
Some people call us perpetual travelers. I think there's some validity to that, but we if we are, we travel like snails. I mean,
It's really ironic because I just had a new subscriber who's coming to meet us over here and take our tour, and it's really ironic. They have a fifth wheel, and that's what they've been doing for the last 4 years. And they take care of a trailer park in the summer,
okay.
And it works well for them, but they're ready to move on and experience different lifestyles in different countries. And let's move on. Did you ever find that you both got bored? What's a day-to-day in the life of you guys? That you retire overseas, and I know it's more from my own personal experiences. It's like hanging around a beach under a palm tree is everybody's idea of what it's like back in Western nations. But obviously, there's far more to it than that. Why don't you share a little bit about what you do to keep life interesting?
I think it depends on what country we're in. When we were in Mexico, we were very involved in the community. Billy built some tennis courts in the city park owned on federal land. So he was building tennis courts there. Of course, that took quite a bit of focus, raising the money and getting the tennis courts built. I taught English as a second language for a while. I was also teaching some young mothers how to make note cards because there weren't any note cards to send home to family and friends. And so I taught them how to make these note cards. That kept me busy for a while. So it kind of depends on what country we're in. When we're in Thailand, we see other local expats. We do some of the tours of the Watts that get into Buddhism. And of course, our website keeps us busy.
And when we're in Guatemala, we spent a lot of time with Mayans and the Mayan culture here, which is fascinating. And not to mention we're on not the largest, but we're on a very large lake here, Lake Atitlan, which is it's one of the top 10 places in the world to visit. So it's stunningly beautiful.
We can spend a day going across the lake just to go out to lunch and then come back home. Beautiful.
Wonderful. Well, no, but there's no shortage of things to keep life interesting, is what you're getting at.
None whatsoever.
Do you find it's a little bit more of an open portfolio in terms of no 2 days are really the same? It's not a routine. Every day is a new action. At least that's what we've been experiencing.
Yeah, because, I have a saying, or I have some advice for people when they come down to these places, is because so many people come down with a tourist mentality. And it's a lifestyle, not a vacation. And if you just stop for a minute and let the culture come to you, you'll see things that you'd never see if you were on a tour or just blowing through for a few days. And I try to tell people, slow down.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
like each day at a time. Let the day come to you, in other words. And,
exactly.
Yes, I agree.